What's up, everybody? Andrew here with Astro Trends. If you're new to the channel, what we do is combine astrological forecasting with traditional trend analysis to speculate on movements in crypto and stock markets. So today we're looking at Nokia for the first time. It's another meme stock that I'm sure you've probably heard some buzz about. We've had a good run here the last 2 months or so. We had this spike back in January. And just looking back over the last couple of years, you can see it's a pretty volatile stock, kind of bounces around a lot. And we've been ultimately kind of in a downtrend that over the last year or so looks like there could be a reversal taking place. So we'll take a look at the astrology in a second. I just wanted to point out how you can kind of see that we're kind of moving in this channel here. Let's see if I can get a... It's not really what I'm looking for. There we go. So there are a lot of ways you can draw these that will work. This is close enough. Could be a little better. Angle is definitely off over here. But it does give you an idea. It helps to organize what can appear at first glance to be really chaotic movements. But the chart follows all sorts of mathematical ratios, and there's really a lot of logic and coherence to pretty much any chart when you start breaking it down. So this sort of downward channel, this downward trend that it's followed for the last couple of years, broke out of it up here, tried to test it here, poked above it back in January, and recently, around May 12th, it broke out, came back, almost retested. At least this drawing, it didn't come all the way back down and actually test the top. The moving averages have pushed it up over the last month. So it's looking pretty good for a possible reversal. But just because we broke out here doesn't mean we couldn't fall back in briefly, maybe test a few of these previous resistances as support before moving upward, or we could even just completely lose this progress and fall all the way down. So if we want to know if Nokia is a good buy right now, not to suggest that this is financial advice, but just examining the chart and the price action, let's take a look at the astrology and see where we are at. I apologize if my energy is a little bit low. It's pretty late here right now. Just looking ahead there. All right, so right now we've got Venus opposed to Saturn. Venus is a very bullish indicator, just to make things simple, and Saturn's very bearish. Venus transiting Saturn can be negative, it can be positive, depends on the context. It's not so bad though, but Mars is following it very closely. So maybe Venus opposite Saturn might be us, or Nokia rather, holding support up here, at least for now. See, it's been getting pushed up by these moving averages. It's been holding support pretty well just off of those. And we also, the fact that we pushed above this spike back here, it's where we closed, or rather where we opened when we gapped up. It does mean it does provide some support as well. So the moving averages have pushed us up, and now we have a little bit of support here to hopefully hold us. Though I wouldn't hold your breath or cross your fingers for that one, because we got Mars coming in right behind Venus. It's at 27 degrees, yeah, right around the 25th of July, so in 5 days, which may be a weekend day, but let's drop in a, yeah, it's going to be a Sunday, so I'll drop it on the 26th. Little bearish target right here. Not that we're bearish on Nokia ultimately, but we're short term probably bearish. I think we'll see a pullback before we see continuation here. It's possible that we will keep on pushing through, but Mars opposite Saturn is a pretty definitively bearish signal. So let's see what else we have in the near term. We got Saturn floating over here in Aquarius, not really making any significant transits. It's got a square to Jupiter, but they're both very slow moving. That could be a bearish indicator, but with planets that big and that they just have opposite symbolism, so that it's kind of it can be relevant, but it can be really hard to predict. You can just as often see pumps as well as breakdowns on something like that. So we'll go by the shorter term indications, the shorter term faster moving planets. Yeah, by mid-August we have Venus squaring Venus, which can be nice. We also have, before that, Sun squaring Jupiter just after Mars leaves this opposition to Saturn. So we could see a little recovery around early August. I'll drop in a tentative target for there. I'll make that green. It's not super bullish, but oftentimes when a very bearish transit passes over just after it's exact, you tend to see a rebound in the price. Pushing forward again, back to this Venus square in mid-August. The downside to that is it coincides with the Sun opposite Saturn. It's the Venus opposite Saturn and Mars opposite Saturn transits that we're seeing over the next week that we are bearish on, and Sun opposite Saturn will likewise be bearish. But just after it clears that transit, it'll move into Virgo around the 23rd. Venus continuing to transit, making aspects to all these planets in Capricorn. So yeah, I'm going to target very early September as a generally bullish zone. There's a lot of transits happening, kind of overlapping one another at this time, so it's hard to narrow down a date. As it gets closer, we can definitely get more specific. As the price unfolds, the price action unfolds, and as we get closer to that date, we can use the moon to key in on some things and look at these transits a little closer as we get closer to that time period. In the shorter term, I'll be watching these moving averages as well as this support level. I doubt this will hold, but even if we lose it, we may reclaim it, or we may just keep getting pushed up. We're getting into oversold territory back here on the 14th. But you know, with these stocks and with the attention that these sorts of stocks get from the Reddit community and just the retail investors in general, they really have the potential to go well into oversold territory, referring to the RSI down here. So it's possible that we could hold these levels, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us dip down at least a little bit. We'll see to what extent, especially as Venus, all these planets here, we're looking at September. More recently, we'll be passing over this across from Saturn here. This opposition will be passing through this zone. So as they're making that transit, I expect to see some bearishness, some correction, some pullback. But in the months ahead, there's nothing super negative, super bearish. So it looks like we could have a healthy pullback here, and then hopefully more impulsive moves to the upside. And we'll be tracking that with both our trend analysis, and we'll be forecasting that astrologically as we move forward. So not financial advice, but as always, give a like and subscribe if you found this entertaining or helpful. And keep a lookout for those updates, as well as the updates for the other assets that we follow. Thanks.